This is what I know.
This is what they say, time waits for nobody. Let me take my rightful place in life. Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central this beautiful Wednesday morning. We apologize for starting a little late behind schedule. It was due to technical glitches beyond our control.
All right, welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi. It's the middle of the week, the Wednesday edition of Breakfast Central, and I decided to bring you the ray of sunshine and pop of color to brighten up the set today, as my two gentlemen have decided to do Ashwebi without, informing me that the dress code was black shirt or black tie. But once again, welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi.
It's great to be here. Well, I think for both of us, we just decided to go a bit, give it a dark theme.
Yes.
So it's a dark theme.
You didn't tell me I went.
It's a dark shade.
And you know what they say about great minds.
They always think alike. Oh, there was a song we used to sing
in primary school.
No. Don't cover it with a song, Joe. You finished shading me.
Wide and wonderful.
No, it's just...
No. You said all that glitters is not gold. I saw that shade.
No.
Shade sin.
No, I'm just
saying.
I wasn't referring to you.
So who are you?
I'm just saying. It's just a general connotation.
All that glitters is not gold. What brought that one into this?
No, it's just life that sometimes you go dark.
How did that?
Okay, what brought brightening up the set into this conversation?
Because I said I'm wearing a bright color.
Okay,
that's what brought
I'm just taking note. I'm sorry. I didn't know that what I said rhymes with what.
Well, we the outliers and leaders, when people choose to go a certain direction, we stand out from the crowd.
Like Michelle Obama said,
when they go low, we go lower.
May I go high?
Yeah, let me see.
I go high.
Low.
Okay. Going on. Let's also mention that we're streaming live on YouTube, so you can go on YouTube to drop your comments. Remember that we do this and we take your comments from the chat box on YouTube. But let's get into our first story, Benga.
Yes, and our first story is a very sad one.
Really sad.
I really hate that we have to do this, but I mean, it's the situation we found ourselves in our dear country, Nigeria. A young woman identified as Wahab Aisha has been abducted in Edo State. I saw this video yesterday, and kidnappers were holding a ransom to, were holding a rifle to her and threatening that they will kill her by the end of Tuesday if they don't get a 20 million naira ransom. Very heart-wrenching video. The video was circulated online with, and she was solicited for funds while being held at gunpoint by kidnappers in the bush. Let's take a look at the video.
Before we, we get there, I would like us to also take maybe what Nigerians are saying right after, because unfortunately what this highlights, right, is the deplorable state of our insecurity, the vulnerable state that Nigerians have been left in. I saw a movie recently, it was directed by Tim Young, and part of why the movie had the hype that it had was the fact that people could relate to it, people could connect to it. It was talking about insecurity, and the intensity with which it is a problem in our country is something that needs to be looked at, where people no longer ply roads as we used to back in the days. In the year 2000, Joe, I entered the bus from Lagos to Kano. I went to see my auntie in Sabongiri. And it was a night bus. We left at night, we got there in the morning. It was a nice ride. You typically can think, I want to be in Delta tomorrow, and you make the decision 7 p.m. You're on your way to the park. You're on your way to the next state. But unfortunately, that's not the reality that Nigerians have. It's not our reality anymore. People are scared. It's almost like if you can't afford to buy a plane ticket, sit down in your house.
Don't even attempt it.
And if you're going by bus, a
suicide mission.
Yes, and if you're going by bus, it's literally pray, hold your hearts in your hand, cover yourselves with the blood of Jesus. People are, a number of prayer points we have will not be prayer points if setting of the things, the basics that we have or we should have in our country.
And God has given us the brains and the resources to take care of these things. We just haven't taken the bull by the horn. Very sad.
Really sad. But let's see what Nigerians are saying about this, and then we'll come back to talk some more. Let's head to X, what Nigerians are saying. And our first tweet about this, if our producers can please share the tweet so we can look into that. This has now become a norm now in Nigeria.
Yes, this has become, Concello Jersey says, this has now become a norm now in Nigeria. Kidnap and then get rich off ransom. What are the security agencies doing? This is worrisome. Someone cannot travel through the road and not everyone can afford the high cost of using planes. Something seriously needs to be done. Kidnapping is a risky thing, for it can happen to anyone, says updated CEO. Let's see if we have more reactions from what Nigerians are saying. Adeleke says our leaders and security agents over the years have made kidnapping quite rewarding. It has an almost 100% success rate with a near zero chance of the perpetrators being caught or prevented from displaying their ill-gotten wealth. Even when caught, chances are they may be pardoned after spending a few years in jail. Quite sad, says Adeleke. Cute Smart says, but who posted the video and where is the location? Interesting question there. Oshoma the Great says, a whole citizen is kidnapped for 20 million naira. Yet the same government that can't secure its people keeps increasing security budgets yearly. Nigeria's insecurity isn't a problem anymore. It's a system that feeds the top guys, in bracket politicians.
Beatrice says, meanwhile, when she comes out of this situation next year, she'll be expected to pay tax to a country whose security forces failed to rescue her from kidnappers' den. Also, these are the tweets, but the videos have been circulating on social media and has caught the attention of many Nigerians, especially those who are not just on X, but on other social media platforms, and it has raised a lot of questions. We're just going to show you a clip of the video as well so you can get to see. I mean, when I saw the first video, I thought to myself, okay, is this real? Or is it something that, you know, every time now people talk about deep fakes, AIs and so on, so you have to be very careful. Make sure you pass on all videos under scrutiny. Check again if it was made by either AI or something, but it wasn't. Apparently, she was given up until yesterday, which was Tuesday, at a particular time, and she was calling a few persons, their names, and said, please send, please help so I can survive. It's quite saddening that when the first video had come out, there was also a statement that, the country is secure, everybody's doing fine. So we're starting to see different tales from here and there, and we're wondering what the situation really is. But let's just take a look. This is the video, and questions are coming up. How did this video get to the public? Who shared this video? Where are they recording from? And so on and so forth.
My people are there. Mona help me. Since on Saturday last week, that they kidnapped me. Money never come. Please, Mona help me. May I come up for here? I beg. See my leg. I don't be one guy again. I don't smell now. Mona help me. My people are beg. May they don't kill me. Mona help me. I beg. Mona help me. They won't kill me. I beg. Mona send money come. I beg. Mona beg. Mona help me. My people I beg. Mona help me. I beg. Time they go.
That's stupid.
Yeah. My people I beg. Mona quick.
We can need to kill.
Now 5 o'clock.
Before I come.
Yes. They don't kill me. Now they don't kill me. 5 o'clock.
They can't play that. How was you?
Sad situation there. Well, let's wait to see. Hopefully we can get information from security operatives on the way forward concerning the video that has been circulating, which you actually saw right here. It's worrisome. It's worrisome in two ways, in the sense that you have someone who has been calling out for help, and the case is, how are they able to record? How are they able to share the video? How is the video able to get on social media? Is there a way that the video can be tracked to find the particular area where she is? And these are so many questions Nigerians are asking. And then if you go on X, you find people, especially on social media, a cross-section of Nigerians believe that at the same time, if someone makes a post that doesn't sit well, that person will be found out in due time. But when these kind of posts are being shared, it's hard to be traced, or you can't trace it to where this particular sad ordeal is taking place. So it's a mixed reaction, and like you read in the tweets, everyone is really worried.
I mean, the responsibility of government is to secure the lives of Nigerians. Basic responsibility. This is not the first time we're seeing this sort of incident. So my biggest grouse is this kidnappings have been going on for years, more than a decade now. In those 10 years, what mechanisms have you put in place to discourage kidnapping. And you understand the systems of ransom payments. You could use marked money. You could tag the bag that is used to transport. You could put GPS trackers. We have drones. There's NIN. There's BVN, and you still haven't been able to discourage kidnapping.
Which money?
As a business.
Track which money? The money of the person is going to pay for ransom.
Yes.
Who is going to track the money? Is it not when is it not when the family go to the police? They don't go to the police anymore.
Yes.
They don't go to the police because there's just that fear that initially they might go. Sometimes the kidnappers will warn you not to go to the police. And people are thinking, I rather want to save the life of my...
No, but we can't keep making excuses for the security operatives. It's their responsibility. They should have found a way to deal with this menace of kidnapping. And I think the sentence or the penalty for kidnapping is too light. There was a time, I believe it was Adams Oshiomhole that recommended the death penalty because her life is in their hands as we speak right now. So if you're bold enough to kidnap someone,
you should be bold enough to face the consequences.
You should be bold enough to face the consequences.
It's a sad
and
one.
some even get the ransom payment.
And then still end up killing the person, which is a serious case. I think we're dealing with a serious case of kidnapping in Nigeria. And until the law has been actually put into action, then a few persons will decide to say, okay, should they engage in it or should they not? We also saw a recent story where they had gone back to dig up the case of a former kidnapper, and now he's back to court again. It's taking so long, and people are wondering, why are you holding on to this case for so long? I'm talking about Evans, who had made wealth out of kidnapping and engaging in these nefarious
and back
acts.
in the day when we heard of Evans, it felt like such a taboo.
Oh, yes.
To think of the time between Evans and now, and how kidnapping has become so normalized is really a sad reality for us. But we hope that the law enforcement agencies and security operatives are able to rescue that young girl and reunite her back with her family and apprehend the evil people behind this act. Let's now move to another story. Former French President Sarkozy has been sentenced to 5 years in prison following a conviction for criminal conspiracy in a scheme involving his 2007 campaign funds from Libya. The case probes how a foreign government, Libya under Muammar Gaddafi, may have funded a foreign election and what diplomatic or political favors were allegedly promised in return. Though he claims innocence, Sarkozy's sentence marks a significant precedent, a former head of state held to account under criminal law. What does this mean for democracy and the rule of law? I mean, of course, they said the funds did not go through him. He didn't receive the funds directly, but he was behind the masterminding of this and the planning of this. And now he's made to face the law. He's not going to be the first head of state to be sentenced to prison. I'm sure that Nigerians will be, using this as an example and wishing that a number of leaders here, politicians who maybe they have accused of corruption will be made to face the law like this.
Just looking at this powerful video, you wouldn't think he's going to jail. There he is with his famous wife, Carla Bruni, the singer, on their way to jail, and is smiling, returning greetings to supporters and all of that. But I mean, justice has been served, and that's the biggest lesson from this. If you can't do the time,
don't do the crime. He put out a tweet on X. Let's take his tweet on X. This is it was written in French, so we'll share with you what the translation of the tweet says.
I can translate it for you directly.
Right. As I'm about, okay, go ahead.
The translation, no,
the
translation please.
Sorry.
As I am about to cross, okay, let me just say the English version.
Please,
as I'm about to cross the walls of the Santé prison, Santé in French means health, by the way. My thoughts go to the French women and men of all backgrounds and all opinions. I want to tell them with the unshakable strength that is mine, that is not a former president of the Republic who's been in prison this morning, but an innocent man. I will continue to denounce this judicial scandal. This ordeal I have endured for more than 10 years. Here is a case of illegal financing without the slightest financing. A long judicial investigation launched on the basis of documents whose falseness is now established. I am asking for no advantage, no favor. I am not to be pitied because of my because my voice carries. I am not to repeat it because my wife and my children are by my side and my friends are countless. But this morning, I feel a deep sorrow for France, which finds itself humiliated by the expression of vengeance that has brought hatred to an unequaled level. I have no doubt the truth will triumph, but the price to pay will have been crushing, says a statement attributed to Nicolas Sarkozy.
I mean, he's been sentenced to 5 years.
Still defiant.
Although his legal team are working to ensure that they reduce it to a parole, so that it's going to be reduced in terms of not spending 5 years. But whether they like it or not, the court says even if they reduce it to 2 years, he must spend time in jail. However, his wife, Bruni, who was next to him, yeah, she's a musician and songwriter. She also did make a statement that she's solidly behind him. She will stand behind him and so on.
You mean that will stand behind him before?
I mean that's a long one. That's a good one because ordinarily sometimes you see a lone man walking. You see a lone man walking. When you mention the likes of Charles Taylor, if you come down to Africa, you mentioned a few African leaders who equally had been Jacob Zuma. I don't know. Did you see Jacob Zuma work with his wife?
I can't remember.
He has many wives.
Exactly, so but which one?
He decided not to choose anyone.
Which one? No, you don't. At this point, that is where I get angry. Well, happily angry because I'm not angry. But this is where I ask, okay, can't one of them just jump and hold his hand and say, I die with you?
Well, you know, in other words, I mean, these tears are for just Sarkozy and his family, his friends and associates. Yeah. Ironically, yesterday was the 14th anniversary of NATO's invasion of the nation of Libya, which has become kidnapping hell's half acre today. They went in there, destroyed a thriving modern country. I mean, if you compare Libya to what it was under Gaddafi, to what it is now, the difference is clear. And Sarkozy was part of those who led that intervention, and is also alleged to have taken money from Colonel Muammar Gaddafi.
He did not, even though the court has said now that he did not receive the funds directly, he's been acquitted of not having received the funds directly. But I mean, he was part of the plan.
He was part of
and his lawyers have filed an appeal pending.
So I really don't...
filed for his release pending the appeal. And
I really don't feel sorry for him for what they've done in Libya.
But this is a lesson. This should be a lesson to African leaders. But will it? Why we say it should be a lesson is because before we take the reactions as well, let's just take a look at the process where he was being escorted into the car and then taken to, of course, prison. There are no handcuffs. You know, you could take a look at certain things, how things are done in a civilized environment. Just yesterday, somebody wanted to drop a wreath at the toll gate, or day before yesterday, and they won't cut the hand.
So you are taking it too far. Let them even first of all get to court. Let them charge them to court. Let them sentence them.
You remember that there's a governor that
mode of going to prison.
There's a governor that XYZ amount was taken off the government.
They were doing kumbaya, working hand in hand now, and you know, showing brotherly love together.
Till today.
Okay, let's get to X and see what Nigerians are saying about Sarkozy's sentence on X. France is neither saddened nor ashamed this morning. It is proud of its rule of law, which makes no distinction between those subject to justice based on whether they are powerful or wretched. When one commits misdeeds, one pays one's dues to society, even when one is a former president. We must mention that this is the first French president or former president to go to, jail. Right. Anyway, Krama Waid says, what a negligible sentence and a pittance of a fine of 100,000 euros for the 50 million euro he received in bribes, which is the equivalent of $67 million. 20 years is more appropriate for his crime. Why did it take so long? Gaddafi has been deceased since 2011.
The law will always catch up. Like
the law indeed will always catch up.
They say the law works in other crimes, but karma is what Nigerian police depends on. I read that on social media.
That what?
Nigeria police depends on karma.
Right. He robbed Libya, Africa, its pride. 5-year sentence is nothing but mockery to the entire continent, Nebie Martin says. And in our next tweets, the man is dead, together with our dream for an independent Africa. Whoever goes to jail now makes no difference. Will the money be returned, and to what effect on a desolate Libya? People have to be serious and real. Dominic Jr. Mwewa says. Well, these are some of the tweets. Shots fired. Wow, Asa Odogu.
I love her makeup.
You know, calm down. You know, Asa Odogu has this statement she made under this story. If I were to have a chance to sit with the leader should actually look at this, especially Nigeria's judicial system. They should look at this as well. It's very key.
Well, anyway, that's our story. Wrapping up there, she said it's a Nigerian impossibility. We are saying here that that's an interesting update. Whether or not that will be justice is another thing for the people to decide.
A new Nigeria is possible, where justice will be served. So let's not lose hope.
Well, I can hear when you say that, because she has said it's an impossibility. So we can only hold out hope, even though they say hope is not a strategy.
Was somebody convicted recently?
For?
Okay. No, I'm just asking.
Let me quickly check on YouTube and see if I can take comments.
Anyway,
but quickly,
while you're doing that, let's go to our last story very quickly because of time. The Nigerian Senate has approved amendments to the Criminal Code Act that prescribes a life imprisonment for anyone, take note, anyone convicted of defiling a minor. Now, how will the law be implemented across Nigeria's many jurisdictions and communities? Well, we're going to find out in the course of this. But let's watch this video very briefly and then come back to talk about it.
Those involved in defilement should suffer greater punishment. I propose that it should be 20 years if you defile an underage. Because I've seen cases of boys and girls under 10 years old, 5 years old, defiled by adults.
You have proposed that for minors, defilement should carry 20 years. Any seconder?
Yes, sir.
Yes. A more severe one. There's a motion. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion, ably moved by Senator Adam Oshomole.
For minors.
For minors. That the penalty should be 20 years instead of 10 years.
20 years.
20 years.
Imprisonment.
I say second.
And no option of fine.
No option of fine.
So is Senator Aledo, you wanted to say something?
I wanted to propose a more stiffer punishment for defilement. Life imprisonment. Because in other crimes, actually it's life imprisonment. In fact, a capital punishment. Particularly in India, Pakistan, and what have you, it's capital punishment. But here we can reduce it to life imprisonment.
DSP, the motion was on 20 years, but the counter motion is on life imprisonment.
Mr. President, we don't have that in our rules. Once there's a motion and somebody seconds, then it will be put to vote. If he fails, then he can raise his own motion. We don't have this. It's alien to our rules.
But we bear in mind.
It's alien.
We bear in mind that he has a counter motion.
You can do that, but he knows it's an experienced legislator. He knows at this point you cannot change this. If you put to vote, defeat it, then you bring forward his own motion.
Okay, those in support that defilement of minors should carry 20 years imprisonment in the act, say aye. Those against say nay. Okay, so that is defeated. Yes, you can now move. Your mic.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting in the chair. My distinguished colleagues, I want to propose that the punishment for defilement is for minor is life imprisonment.
So in this case, it doesn't matter whether it is a woman or a man that does the defilement. The most important thing is that if a woman lures a minor to defile, life imprisonment. If a man lures a minor to defile, life imprisonment. Any seconder, Olamileko, because you feel very strongly about this. You are going to make sure that nothing like that happens in Ogun State.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair, Adeola Solomon Olamileko.
I rise to second the motion as ably moved by Senator Adamu Alero. I so second.
Yes. Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that any defilement of a minor in Nigeria henceforth should carry life imprisonment. Those in support say aye. Aye. And those against say nay. They are not here. But is there any option of fine? No option of fine. So the motion is carried.
Wonderful. Marvelous.
Yes.
I think that, this feels like a positive step in the right direction
For once.
for the fight against sexual abuse and the fight against, sexual violence of any sort. And, I think that it's an important move to make because in some measure, I think that this will send down the message of the seriousness of the gravity of the crime against the person. It's a crime against the state. We'll come back to share our thoughts, but let's take what Nigerians are saying. OCCAI says, hope it's not going to be different in the north. And that's another angle I wanted us to go to, but we'll come back to that shortly. Mr. Foshere says, this is likely the first time our law is including women and accepting that women also rape and abuse men too, especially small boys. Before, you can't charge a woman with rape. They won't get punished if they don't get consent. I don't get that part. They won't get punished if I don't understand. Finally, a law that actually sounds like it means business in this country. For once, there's no room for those so-called influential uncles or connected aunties to buy their way out. Life imprisonment straight. No fine, no plea deal, no backdoor escape. Too many children have suffered while predators walk free bragging about their status. Let them rot where they belong, because this nation has protected demons for too long in the name of power and connections. It's about time that Nigeria stopped negotiating with evil, Amos Soma says. Nigerians and duplication of laws. This is not exactly what the Child Rights Act provides for, Barrister Ofo says. And then, our leaders and security agents over the years have made kidnapping quite, well, I don't think that this one applies here. Let's move on to the next tweet. This one is speaking about kidnapping. Well, okay, that's all that we have here.
Well,
so, the question again, and it's interesting that someone brought that up, is what then happens in the north where people are with underage children?
I mean, the constitution of Nigeria is supreme, so regardless of cultural beliefs.
However, I think that this is for the criminal code. For those who are asking, I think it's the criminal code, and that doesn't apply to the north. The north has its penal code that applies there. So we might be there for a while. And however, this is defilement. Those ones would argue that it's marriage, but well, that's a conversation for another day.
It should apply to everyone.
Well, no, because there's the law for the south
there's
and then there's the law for the north.
And then of course
so we can't impose the criminal code on them. Let's share what our top stories are this morning on Breakfast Central. Remember that you can still go on YouTube, and during the course of the show, we'll continue to take comments regarding any of the stories that we've shared this morning. We're streaming live on YouTube at News Central TV's page. Good morning, Mokuye Chikwemeka. We've seen your comment. We'll take more comments as we proceed with the show this morning. But this morning on Breakfast Central, we're going to be addressing land grabbing allegations in Abuja. We're going to be looking at ADC boasting ahead of 2027. But let's give you a visual of that. The land grabbing story began last week, and we're giving you a follow-up. ADC is boasting ahead of 2027 elections that they are unshaken by defections to APC. Reactions trail push for early elections and single-term presidency. And Reps pass police pension board bill, meet protesters' demands, and that will be one of our conversations this morning. The newspaper front pages will be a key part. Join us for the review of that. For all these and more, stick around. Abuja, once envisioned as a model of urban serenity, is now for some a battleground, not of war, but of bulldozers. In the past week, we've seen the demolition of parks and garden spaces built with private investment, nurtured by community spirit and protected by legal agreements, yet they've been razed. Why? Who benefits and who's accountable?
Just last week, we brought you a report of how business owners in the nation's capital counted their losses following the demolition of the structures by the FCDA. We shall be taking a look at a deeper concern as to whether or not the structures legitimately been brought down by the authorities, or maybe there is perhaps a bigger case of land grabbing schemes involved in these actions by the authorities of the Federal Capital Territory. Join us this morning for this discussion is legal practitioner and policy analyst, a fierce advocate for good governance, Dr. Liberus Oshoma. A warm welcome to you. And thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yvonne and Meg in the studio. I greet you.
Good morning. Now let's start with it. Are these demolitions legally defensible, or are we witnessing executive overreach? I'm talking about the recent demolitions in Abuja.
Yeah, to tell you straight, Benga, what you are seeing is executive rascality. Are not legally allowed demolition. Unlike the case of Lagos State, for example, you hear that Lagos State will tell you that they have issued notices, they even give amnesty for regularization, and then they will now ask that people whose property has been demolished should bring their documentations and approval. But in this case, in the case of the FCT, they have listened to complaints from most of these park owners who were duly issued certificate of occupancies. Mind you, these green areas, because people really don't understand what green areas also are, these green areas are usually meant for parks, entertainment, and then sit out, just what those people are using them for. And that is why when El-Rufai came, he sanitized the certificate of occupancy issuance process in the FCT. And so they have the ages, automated, processes. And so you can't, it's almost impossible for illegal, what do you call it now, approvals in the FCT. That said, these people were duly issued CFOs, ground rent duly collected up to date, and then subsisting court orders restraining the government from taking any step pending the hearing and determination of the matter submitted before the jurisdiction of the court. But unfortunately, the FCT and its authorities, despite this court order, despite the issuance of their certificate of occupancy, would go straight into these places and demolish. When it has not been shown also, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay then. It has also not been shown that these certificates of occupancies have been revoked. Because even when you are revoking,
Mr. Liberos, we can hear you very clearly. If you can please proceed. We can hear you. It seems that we're having a bit of an issue with the internet, and we hope that you can come and help us clarify. Last week we began this story.
Hello?
Yes, welcome, Mr. Oshoma. Yes, please go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We're just struggling a bit with your video. But we can hear you, so please go ahead.
Yeah, so even when you are revoking a certificate of... Okay then. So even when you can revoke a certificate of occupancy, there are procedures and processes for doing that.
Well, it seems that today's network is powered by poor
demolitions,
connectivity, and would not be able to connect with
technological restraints.
But he was making very salient points. I was waiting for that response, that even if you have, because the ladies, there are many cases. We had the case of the one we just considered this week, last week, I beg your pardon. Jennifer Omeh. They said they had the documentation, they have been paying, they've been following through, but yet there was a court order. The demolition even took place while the case was in court.
And the court order
That's what I want to ask him. Do they have the powers to go ahead and do that, even when the case has been entertained in court? Secondly, we also have the issue of those who had built houses in certain areas and then they had their homes demolished. That's another conversation as well. How does that take place? And I would have loved for him to speak down onto Lagos State. Let's also come to Lagos State. We've been seeing demolitions here and there. We've seen the ones that has taken place, especially in different places, particularly the trade fair area as well. That's another one. So I would have loved for him to also speak to that. Let's know, what are the processes, basically? Are there processes that can be checkmate, can be put to place in terms of ensuring that before the bulldozers come in to destroy, these people can either go to court and restrain them from doing that yet until they've reached a certain form of agreement before they can go ahead to do that? So these are some of the critical things that we must really look into. You know.
Hopefully we can connect back with Dr. Oshoma very soon, because these are questions begging for answers from a legal expert like him.
All right. Unfortunately, you know, we might have to go on a break while we try to sort that out, and hope that we can reconnect with Mr. Oshoma before, you know, the time for this conversation elapses and we can find out what the next steps are. And also to maybe, as we proceed in the coming days, we'll continue to bring you updates about the case of the demolition that happened in Abuja. Jennifer had shared with us the strength of their staff and how a number of them have graduated from there. A number of them have earned their living. The man who sells suya, you know, just really heartbreaking human angle stories of the reality of everyday Nigerians occupying these gardens, who now no longer have a source of living in a country where we're looking for how to increase employment opportunities for the young people. What we do not want is taking away the already existing or the barely existing opportunities there. But we'll have to go on a break now. When we come back, Breakfast Central continues.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still joined here by policy analyst, legal practitioner, Dr. Libros Oshoma. We're looking at fixing land grabbing issues in the FCT, and I'm sure you also it trickles down to the commercial nerve, which is Lagos as well. But I focus on the FCT. Dr. Libros, thanks for joining us right back.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
You know, the internet devil can be very artful. You know, so like I was saying, there are procedures for revoking a certificate of occupancy. You don't just revoke a certificate of occupancy. Everybody knows, every landlord student knows that for you to revoke a certificate of occupancy must be for overriding public interest. And unlike Wike, you know, before now, Wike would have been on TV. If a statement had been issued by a political opponent on this matter, by now Wike would have gone on TV, grand media interview, insulting everybody, insult who cares to listen. But because I think the FCT does not have an answer to this, especially given the fact that, you remember the last time there were allegations by Sahara reporters that Wike revoked lands and allocated the same land directly to his children. And the whistleblower was arrested under Section 24 of the Cybercrime Act and thrown into prison until Showore protested for his release. So basically what we are seeing here is executive rascality and not otherwise. And that's why, you know, people in government think that they can just, you know, do these things and go scot-free, forgetting the fact that there are people who are employed under these places. These are Nigerians. Government has not been able to provide jobs. I told somebody somewhere, I said, look, it is not enough for government to say we are developing roads, we are building infrastructure, roads. Human capital development is zero in as far as, you know, the government and the FCT minister is concerned. In River State, how many people did he develop apart from building road? The same thing is happening in Abuja. But those people who are employing these Nigerians, who are taking Nigerians off the street, you are demolishing their parks because under the guise of whatever, Abuja is it to restore Abuja master plan now? Because these people whose parks have been demolished have also raised allegation that these parks have been reallocated, that they've been reallocated to cronies. And the government has not come out to defend that. So the thing is, unfortunately, we've seen so many authorities, cases. Unfortunately, this cannot be sustained. There are issues in Nigeria where governments took land from people and used them for private individuals or even for reallocated them. But eventually they left office and the court ruled that those land that were taken were wrongly taken, and they revert those land back to the original owners that they were allocated to. And under the doctrine of Quick Platator Solo Sedi, he who owns the land owns everything affixed to that land. So, and that was how people inherited houses that they didn't build. You know, so in this case, I am just, you know, pitying those people who are being, or who these lands are being allocated to, because someday the government is going to come and another government is going to come and the court will rule that this land were wrongly revoked or that they were reallocated wrongly. So that's why the FCT minister should be careful. The way he's going, he's not the first FCT minister. He's not he won't be the last. And the way he's going about this thing, it's the rascality and the brazen manner with which he's doing it it's appalling. And government is supposed to be for the people and not against the people. But what we are seeing is a government against the people.
Mr. Shoma, if you say that this is executive rascality at its finest, and you've said that the FCT minister needs to do differently, who then holds the FCT minister to account? Mr. Shoma, did you hear my question?
I didn't get your question.
I was asking, I said, since you say that it is executive rascality at its...
I didn't get the question.
Okay, I said that since you say it's executive rascality and you're asking the FCT minister to do better, I'm asking, who holds the FCT minister to account?
It's the president. It's the president. Unfortunately, we see him doing all of this and nobody's calling him to order. A lot of people call him the emperor these days, the landlord of Abuja. And the president does not know. Despite that shout of renew hope agenda, the man is busy destroying the hope, the little hope that even others are given to people who are despair. That's why when I sometimes ask myself, all of this rascality, despite all of this rascality and application of money in the banks in America, allocation of properties to his children directly, and the president, the government is yet to issue a statement. The only thing I learned was that his monthly media chat has been stopped by the president. I've read that in some blogs. I don't know how true that is, but we also know that he has not been, issuing or granting those his media chat as though he's the president of the country. And then we see him, anytime any politician raised anything or say anything, if it was just, do you know the only way Wike can respond to this? Just let Amechi say something about this demolition. Be sure that the very next day, he will take 2 hours on primetime TV and grant interview and will not address the issues. He will not address the issues, but rather will attack Amechi, call him names, and then tell us how he drives a Rolls Royce. How he was driving a Rolls Royce as his father was the general manager. But because these people are ordinary people, he will not respond. The government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, despite his Renew Hope agenda, he's seeing that his minister is destroying the hope of the ordinary man. They are also not responding. And then you saw what he did in Port Harcourt. If not that he's been empowered by the government of the day, you think he will be able to do all of these things that he's doing? The silence of the government means acquiescence. So I'll put the blame squarely at the doorstep of Mr. President. The fact that there are no opposition today, the fact that the opposition has not been able to put its act together, does not mean that Nigerians are not opposing or Nigerians are not in opposition to the policies of the government. That Nigerians are not in opposition to the acts of Wike in FCT. And Mr. President should not allow this act of one minister, just one minister, to be his undoing. There are some ministers in the cabinet, the Minister of Interior, the Minister of, Aviation, who are shining stars. But Wike would build one road and insult 10 people during commissioning. You saw the way he asked, despite the clear provisions of the Constitution, asked the chairman of AMAC to stand up in public, and then he dressed him down over street naming.
Now, Dr. Oshoma, as we...
With internal memos, you insulted the man in public, and all of these actions, if care is not taken, might be president's undoing. Mind you, he didn't win Abuja the last time, and I doubt the way he's going. If he will get the kind of numbers he got in Abuja in 2023 by 2027, if he does not sack the minister Wike, he's not the first person to be building roads, and he won't be the last.
Now, Dr. Oshoma, before we wrap up, I mean, you did talk about the human development indices, you talked about youth unemployment in the country, and what these young Nigerians were doing in their own little space to employ Nigerians and make ends meet. Now, all those dreams have been dashed. Is there any legal remedy available to them to, seek some form of compensation in the courts?
Like I said, there are procedures for revocation of a certificate of occupancy. And one of such is revocation for overriding public interest. Overriding public... Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can. You stopped at overriding public interest.
Public interest is you want to build schools, you want to build hospitals, you want to carry out infrastructure that will be beneficial to the public by the government, and then compensation, adequate notice will be issued to the persons directly, and then compensation will be paid. If there are litigations, whether there is a restraining order or not, actions will be stayed, and then subsequently compensation can be paid. But in this case...
Anyway, I think due to connectivity issues, we would not be able to continue this interview with Mr. Liberos Oshoma. Hopefully, we'll be able to do this again when he is maybe back into the studios with us. But let's also quickly tell you that we have more coming your way here on Breakfast Central for today. Let's take a look at what's coming up next. Coming up next today on Breakfast Central, we'll take a look at the PDP convention dispute. Someone says they forged my signature, another one says no, they did not. ADC boasts ahead of 2027 elections. We'll look at that story as well. And proposed early elections and single-term presidency, these and more. We'll have that here on Breakfast Central.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. There appears to be serious chatter in political corridors about certain amendments to Nigeria's electoral process, while some members of Nigeria's political class are demanding that the next general elections be brought forward. Others are proposing a constitutional shift to a single, non-renewable 6-year presidential term. Supporters call it reform and stability. Critics call it chaos and an attempt at power grab. Today, we ask whose interests are being served, who stands to gain, and who will lose. What does the law say, and how would this affect ordinary Nigerians? Join us this morning for this discussion is Mr. Akin Bashiru. Warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us for Breakfast Central.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Now, let's get straight to it. We've had people calling for reforms, and they say, you know, this 4-year term that is renewable, that is open for renewal after every 4 years. It's not delivering the dividends of democracy. They say the government is distracted. They're always focused on seeking re-election towards the end of their first term. But if you have a single-term presidency, it would allow them to focus and, you know, get straight to business all through their presidency. What do you make of this new proposal? Are you okay with the way things are, or should we tinker a little bit?
Anyway, thank you so much for this opportunity. Let me start by saying that that you have a renewable 2-term does not stop a delivery of democracy benefits. But of course, when people begin to agitate for a particular shift, you know, in any space, it means there are critical issues that are required to be addressed. And for me, calling for a single term of 6 years for governor and president is not a new call. I think for the proponents of this, they have their reasons, and I want to tend towards supporting a single term of whatever number of years that may be agreed. And that's because, okay, look at, the current set of governance model we have. If you look at it in terms of it, any governor or president that is lucky to spend 8 years, when you do your analysis, you find out that perhaps they have been engaged in campaigning, you know, for close to 2 years. So at the end of the day, you still come back to, you know, a position that a single term of 6 years will have afforded them. When currently in the year 2025, and whether we like it or not, you'll have been seeing a lot of political moves here and there. You know, people...
We have even physical billboards erected.
Yeah, no, don't even leave that. Billboards could be there. I mean, I know we need to take care of that.
The transfers?
Look at the transfers. You understand? If it had been a single term of office, you're not likely to do this kind of movement. Because I know that I have a 6-year term to run. So my focus will be on what will I be able to deliver within the 6 years. I won't be thinking about re-election. So thinking about re-election, going for a second term, is national.
But the danger of that is if you're a politician that is not delivering, the people will have to will wait and do for a whole 6 years, which is a long time.
Yeah, I think there should be some kind of institutional reforms, you know, that should be able to take care of this. Okay, fine. Let's say a person gets a 4-year term. And by the 2nd year or 3rd year, the person is already thinking of how to get re-elected. That will also affect governance at whatever level you look at it. So for me, any good leader will always perform, notwithstanding whatever terms of office. So I don't see, you know, why a single term should prevent any responsible leader, you know, who is organized and strategic in his understanding of what governance should be, to get distracted.
Okay, I mean, part of the concerns will be also the implication. Do you see any downsides? I know that you're in support of it. There have been a number of other leaders who are in support of it. But what do you think might be the downsides of a single 6-year term?
Yeah, like I said earlier, a responsible leader should know that he has 6 years to deliver legacy projects that will be remembered after him. Of course, it's also possible for a leader who doesn't really care about that, you know, to say, I have 6 years, let me see, I mean, how much I can grab, you know, within the 6 years. After all, I'm not seeking for an election, you understand? So that's also a challenge. And that's why I said, perhaps institutional reforms, can take care of this. Take, for example, if it is put in the constitution that where a government is not seen to be performing, appropriately well within a single, term of office, these are the consequences of that, and there are going to be processes of recall, midterm elections and all that. You understand? To really ginger those who are in a position of authority in a single term tenure.
Okay. Anyway, some critics have said that early elections will benefit those who have access to state resources. Talk about those who have like political alliances. We're talking about 6-year term, single term. Yeah. If my memory serves me well, I do recall that I think Mr. Peter Obi also said 5 years. He was pushing for 5 years. And then we have countries that also engage in 5 years. For instance, like France, 5 years, and then when you're done, you're done. The next person, and so on. But there could also be an argument that if Nigeria settles for an economic reform or a political reform or a presidential reform, whatever name we want to call it, there would need to be room for a re-election of the same president. Or do you think it should just be once? Once you're done with your 6-year term, regardless of whether you did fantastically well, you can never come back as a president anymore.
Okay, different models, different countries. There are some countries that run unlimited tenure, where you can continue, to seek for election. And there are some that run limited one. And there are those who also run a system that allows you to complete your term. And after another term, 2 terms out of office, you can equally recontest. Because I was running to, the term limit for various, countries. All of these are available. But what is important is that whichever model we choose, how do we ensure that it's for the benefit of majority of the people? How do we ensure that, yes, governance at that level is properly aligned, towards delivering the dividend of democracy the way it should be, so that those who are in position of power must be made to see that there are consequences, either while in power or out of power, for whatever misdemeanor or they might have caused, towards the people they are expected to govern and govern very well.
All right, those who have been advocating for single 6-year term, a number of them have also advocated for the idea of rotational presidency. So how would you say that the idea of rotational presidency among the 6 geopolitical zones ties into this single 6-term tenure so that everybody gets a fair chance?
Yeah, I mean, the idea of rotational presidency has come to stay, presidency in particular in Nigeria between North and South. But of course, I know the agitation is that it should not be between North and South, but of course between all the 6 geopolitical zones. So with a single term of 6 years, the tenures are very high, that different zones can come quicker, towards accessing opportunity to govern the affairs of the country. So for those who take that position, I'm sure they have their reasons. I mean, 8 times 6, that gives you what? 42. 6 times 6 gives you 36.
42 or 48.
48. So 6 times 6?
36.
36, so which is quicker? 36. So okay, that might be the argument. Yeah.
Now, we have a new man at the helms of affairs at the Independent National Electoral Commission, the body charged with conducting and announcing election results in Nigeria. The way we've conducted elections in the past, it's a public holiday. We have presidential on one day and state legislative elections and then presidential on another date. And in neighboring countries like Ghana, even the world's largest democracy, India, elections are conducted in one day, and you don't shut down the economy and businesses because of it. Is it something that is a possibility, and would you advocate for it, for us to just have all our elections in one day?
Yeah, I think the clamor for that is taking a center stage, and a lot of people are really, clamoring for that. I also want to. I think I also want to join that, because when you look at we are still a developing country, and the cost of elections in this country is humongous. So, if elections can be held on the same day, I think it reduces the cost, and it also reduces the logistics, the crisis, the management of various elections. Like you said, on election day, every part of the society goes on break, I mean, a lot of resources are lost. The economy is affected. So I think the National Assembly, too, is looking at that idea of having it, you know.
Are you in favor of it?
I am in favor of that, sure. I'm in favor of that, yeah.
Okay, still talking about the new sheriff on the block. We've talked about, Benga alluded to that earlier, but let's see what his work is going to be like. He has his work cut out for him. There's a huge gap between where we are as a nation in terms of the freeness and fairness of our elections and where we ought to be. What do you think are some of the most pressing matters that the new INEC chair would need to address in order to take us to, you know, a more settled and balanced place in terms of the quality of elections we carry out?
Yeah, you see, for any system, the run of any system would depend on what are the statutes, what are the requirements, what are the rules and regulations guiding the activity of that agency. Every agency has its own mandates, and of course, such mandates are expected, you know, to be delivered. So I think, I mean, I also want to agree that it's not in every situation that every system works perfectly well the way they're intended to do, but at the same time, they also need a lot of institutional support. Take, for example, I'm aware that the National Assembly is doing a lot now to see that some aspects of the constitutions are, you know, rigged, you know, so as to give us a semblance of a better election management. So if all these are done, they will serve as the basis, the law that will back whatever activity, you know, the new sheriff in town, if I may use your word, you know, will be doing. I'm aware now there is this single term, you know, being proposed. We're currently looking at how election could be held, you know, just one day. I mean, that will help a lot, you know, in the management of elections. And I'm equally aware that, rather than make election transmission a discretionary, you know, option, that the Assembly is looking at.
The electronic transmission.
As well.
That the Assembly is looking at making it now mandatory. So if all of these institutional backing and reforms are put in place, the tendencies are very high. That whoever is going to implement these policies will have to implement the policies based on the law that is guiding the institution.
How do we restore trust? Because Nigerians have a serious trust deficit with the independent. They just think the I in INEC stands for something else, not independence. How can the National Assembly and also Professor Josh Amopiton restore faith in Nigerians to say, look, elections that will be conducted henceforth will be credible?
Yeah, see, first and foremost, I don't want to join the bandwagon that will believe that election has not been properly conducted in its total gamut. Of course, I mean, we also have situations that will make you to know that, oh, fine, if election has been rigged in this place, this candidate couldn't have been marked. So it's a concept thing. But for the issue of trust generally, it's not even in INEC. There's a trust deficit all over the place, you know. But like I said earlier, if these reforms that are to be carried out, it will to a large extent, you know, build further trust. But the challenge we have here is that, because on this issue of a single term, or what's the other issue we also discussed?
With election in a day.
Election in a day,
One day
that gives us enough time to prosecute and all that. I remember shortly after the last election, when politicians were going to court, tribunal and all that, I know how many journalists that were clamoring that no, this should have been, you know, resolved before taking over. But you don't see same journalists now talking from the other side of their mouth. That why do we need to do this? It's not going to be a distraction and all that. Do you get that? So, whatever policies, you have people on the different sides. But for me, if there's anything we have always lacked, is implementation, and of course, getting people to comply with policies, rules, and regulations.
If we look at the staff, I know staff of is being discussed as well at the National Assembly. They're looking at a critical area, which is the reform to include reevaluation and structure of appointment processes within INEC. In 2023 and the build-up to that election, we do recall that there were a lot of statements being made by Nigerians, individuals. Somebody even mentioned that the current FCT minister's nephew or cousin was part of INEC back then, and it was proven, apparently. And then Nigerians are saying INEC, in its own independence, should not be accepting people already have a relationship with someone who's already in power. I mean, you're also aware that if you work in certain organizations or you consult for them, you know the questions they ask, that do you have anybody working in this organization? You have to write it out. If you do, then it's also a criteria to see if they would pick you or not. How do you think this can be addressed, especially as we head into 2027?
Okay, my position is, I think it's a question of morality, you understand? I know that, I mean, there was a time in Lagos State here where a husband and the wife, you know, both of them qualify to be council managers, you know. At a point, somebody said, look, the two of them, because they're from the same cannot. But there was another guy who said, for God's sake, if this person has qualified, you know, by dint of hard work and by experience, why do you deprive the person? Personally, I don't have a problem with that. I remember there was a time, a lady was already in INEC before Muhammadu Buhari became the president. And there was this allegation that this person is a cousin and all that. What do you now want to do? Do you want to terminate the appointment of such persons? You know, but where it is possible, I would rather, you know, run away from that. But when such a thing, you know, happens to be a position that someone has held within the system, personally, I don't see why that person must be deprived of the continuation because, you know, it's a relation of somebody or whatever. I think what matters is how does that person carry himself or herself in the discharge of his responsibility. We shouldn't think that because somebody is a relation, then that person should lose all sense of responsibility, you know, that will enable him how to perform his duties. So.
Now let's look at as we inch towards 2027, because next year is the penultimate year before the elections, and we're in the twilight of 2025. And we've been having political discussions. Some of the major players have moved to parties. Parties have been issuing statements here and there. Are you happy with the level of political discourse that we're having, especially amongst the heavyweights and gladiators? Because it seems to be a contest of personality. It's one person granting media interviews and disparaging the other camp responding and saying, what did you do in your time? It's almost very childish. What can we do to elevate the level of political discourse and conversations we're having to talk about the real issues that matter? As we speak, over 140 million Nigerians are living in extreme poverty. The state of infrastructure is terrible. In most states, we're dealing with the insecurity. How do we get the politicians to focus on the issues that matter?
Yeah, let me repeat. I think I once said it here that political movements here and there for me does not disturb governance. I mean, my position is clear and I want to repeat that. But I equally remember saying that you expect politicians not to be moving, not to be getting again in what they're doing. It's like taking the fact from them that they're politicians, you know? I mean, for those in governance, fine. For those outside government, what keeps them busy? If they don't continue to strategize or think about, you know, what's the next thing for their party. But I think what matters is that there should be, we should be able to separate, you know, the level of distraction, you know, that is expected. What you're currently experiencing is that people are planning ahead. You understand? How are we going to get it easy by the time the proper election comes? So these are pre-election activities, but the level to which you carry it is what matters. For example, now, if I accuse you, you understand, of a particular thing, you will keep quiet. You understand? You also want to tell me that, sorry, what you have said is not correct. So, I mean, you will continue to get, you know, what we are currently getting. But what matters for me is that, fine, if you have your position to push, put your position sensibly, creditably, and responsibly. Talk about the issues rather than attacking personal individuals. I wouldn't go to that extent, but I can, as much as possible, you know, present my position, my viewpoint from an angle of superior argument rather than descending to personal attack.
All right. It's been, quite an interesting conversation this morning. We've looked at the proposition for a single-term 6-year or single 6-year presidency and what that might mean. Maybe you should also let us know what your thoughts are if you're in support for a single, non-renewable 6-year term for our leaders. And like they're also asking in some quarters for the elections to be conducted in one day. Mr. Akim Bashiru, thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It's great to have you.
Same here.
All right, Breakfast Central continues in a moment. We still have more conversations we'll be looking into right after this break.
Welcome back. The African Democratic Congress, ADC, has declared, not suggested, not implied, but declared that the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, is, in quotes, finished ahead of the 2027 elections. Well, in a blistering statement, ADC's National Publicity Secretary says no amount of defections, no last-minute alliances, no political gymnastics can save the APC from what he calls the wrath of Nigerians. Is the APC truly what has been mentioned by the ADC? Well, let's not take it as it's been said. Let's hear from the horse's mouth directly as we have joining us for this discussion a former Minister of Youth and Sports and now National Publicity Secretary of the African Democratic Congress. Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi joins us this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much.
All right. I think my first question would be one I had written down over the weekend when I did see a few gathering of APC members. We did see them in Kogi State. Just yesterday, we also saw them in Lagos State, where they are happily endorsing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for another term. And it seems like it's all going very, very fine, which, of course, obviously we've seen the gathering, the group, the crowd. Is ADC afraid of what's coming?
Afraid? No, we're not. We're not afraid. I mean, we've seen all this before. This is not the first time this kind of thing will happen. I mean, we could recall that just about 11 years ago, at the height of PDP's reign in this country, it was the same. What you are witnessing now was the same thing that we witnessed. In fact, it dates far back to even the period of military rule when General Sani Abacha was in charge in this country. You remember what the late Bola Ige memorably described as 5 fingers of a leprous hand, when 5 political parties in the country at the time all unanimously adopted General Sani Abacha as their presidential candidate. That was even under the military rule. And at the height of PDP's glory, around 2008, up to 2010 or thereabout, you remember almost all the state governors in Nigeria belong to the ruling party. I can't remember the exact number now, and they control family majority, comfortable majority in the National Assembly up till 2015 or thereabout. At some point, the national chairman of PDP, I remember Vincent Ogbulafo, said that declared magisterially that PDP will rule Nigeria for 60 years. But here we are today. You know, so we've seen all this before, and most of these governors you see, they are not doing so because of any conviction. We all know why they are doing it. They are doing it for self-preservation, for so what some people call greed, and some of them because they felt they needed, that's the way they could protect themselves. In any case, many of them have lost the trust of their people, and even we as an opposition party will tell you that at no other time in our history in this country had state governors received so much money from the federation account, and yet you can't see any impact that these governors, majority of them, have made in the lives of their people. So many of them are unpopular, and they know they are unpopular. So, and that's why we said all these governors decamping to the ruling party is not going to save APC, because these governors are already electorally deficient. We've seen governors who after 2 terms come back to run for Senate and lost election in the same state that he had governed for 8 years. So we are not concerned in terms of what it means for our electoral prospects. We are not concerned, because we know that we have the people with us, because the reality that the people are facing cannot be denied and cannot be transformed by any defection. You know, if anything, the people will read it as a gang up among the among the political elite against the average suffering Nigerian. Our people are suffering. We know that, you know, and some of these things, even we as opposition party, we say that, look, some of the suffering that we talk about are not necessarily created by the Bola Tinubu administration. The only problem is that they are not willing to acknowledge that these problems exist. They continue to sell these creative statistics of progress to Nigerians to hide the reality of the people. And that's why we say all this defection is not going to save APC, not in any part of this country. So we're not surprised. The people that you say passing vote of confidence on the president are his people. You don't expect them not to pass vote of confidence on his people. I saw the event in Lagos. I mean, those are his people, so they will pass vote of confidence. Like my family passing a vote confidence on me. It doesn't mean that the neighbor will join them in that. That's what they are expected to do. So we are not bothered about that in terms of the electoral process. But there's a side of it that we are concerned about, which is the transformation of Nigeria into a one-party state. But if you want me to stop here, you can.
Yes, please go ahead. You've shared the side, you know, the angle of you not being bothered. What you said that is the side you're bothered about, the one-party state. Can you expand further in that regard?
Yeah, exactly. The side of it that we are concerned about is the gradual transformation of Nigeria into a one-party state. Let nobody make a mistake that what is happening is just happening by chance. No, these things are not happening by chance. They have been designed and they have been deliberately implemented every single day. You know, so in the first place, the creation of the coalition, if you recall, when we announced the coalition, we said what necessitated the coalition was the destabilization or the collapse of the legacy parties. The PDP today is more or less have been destroyed completely. They are planning a convention in November. Now somebody woke up suddenly and said, "Oh, his signature was forged," to ensure that convention did not hold. So more or less, PDP is more or less dead, and which is a tragedy for Nigerian democracy. One of the strongest parties ever experienced on the African continent have been destroyed by this administration. So that is one side of it. You have the SDP, of course, you know what's happening. You have the Labour Party. So it's the destruction and the destabilization of these political parties that have in the first place necessitated the creation of the coalition, and which adopted the ADC. Now, what you see is that the defection of these various political elite or political leaders into the APC is just a continuation of that grand plan to ensure that at the end of the day, by the time we arrive at 2027, there will be no platform able to challenge President Bola Tinubu for the 2027 election. And they think the plan is going well so far. And that's about political parties, but we need to look at even the system, the machinery of government. INEC, the National Assembly. The National Assembly had declared that whatever the president wants, the president gets. And it's in the National Assembly they are singing, "On your mandate we shall stand." And we all know that in a democracy, the National Assembly is supposed to be the version of democracy where the people run to seek protection from the excesses of the executive. You have the judiciary. Of course, we know how that goes. So what you are saying is the gradual evolution of what you might call a totalitarian state, you know. So let's make no mistake about it. All these things are not happening by chance, you know, because the government knows that the only way it can hold on to power is to take total control of not only the political space, but even the administrative space, the military, the judiciary, and all that, you know. But we've seen, like I said earlier, we've seen all this before, you know. So it's only problem, the only challenge that we have is that Nigeria's democracy ought to be moving forward, not to be moving backward. But what we are seeing under this administration is that our democracy is being retarded and the hands of the clock is being wound back. But Nigeria will survive and Nigerians will take their country back.
Thank you so much, Honorable Abdullahi. We would like you to hold on a bit. We still have quite a lot to unpack on this conversation. We'll go on a quick commercial break, and when we return, our conversation continues. You stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central, and we're currently in conversation with Honorable Bolaji Abdullahi, the National Public Secretary of the ADC. Now, Honorable Abdullahi, before we went on the break, you said quite a number of things about the state of democracy in the country and, of course, politics as we inch towards the 2027 elections. Many of your critics will say, you know, the things you've said are very big on rhetoric, but the reality is different. And you've also dismissed the chances of the opposition People's Democratic Party saying they are yet to put their house in order. But the question remains that if the APC, as we currently speak, the reality is that they are administratively dominant in many states and control the levers control the federal levers, and that's why we're seeing all these defections. They often say that these governors want to plug into the center and, you know, get whatever benefits accrues to them. So my question to you is, how do you expect to translate these things you've said this morning into electoral victory? How do you communicate the message to the people? When the reality is that the APC has the governors, they have the numbers.
You see, when you talk about the APC having the numbers, you are talking about the number of governors they have, or the number of National Assembly members they have. You are not talking about the number of Nigerians that will vote in 2027. As a matter of fact, how many Nigerian voters are actually card-carrying members of any political party? Majority of Nigerians don't belong to any political party, and they don't care which political party, all this thing we are doing, they don't care. Nigerians want their lives to be better, and the purpose of government is to improve the lives of citizens. Now, the question they will be asking themselves is whether in the last 2 years or 2.5 years, their lives have improved or their lives have been better in any respect. I came across a story last week and I almost had tears in my eyes. I read, I think it was the Guardian newspaper, that schools just resumed in September. The majority of the parents they spoke with said they could no longer send their children to school. They had to enroll them in home lessons. In other countries, when you hear homeschooling, you think it's children of the elite, the ultra elite, who do they want their children to? But in Nigeria, we have found ourselves in a macabre situation. 26 years or so after the introduction of universal basic education, that it's only parents who have money that could send their children that could get basic education for their children. That's a disaster. We listened to the president during the October 1, October 1 Independence Day address, talking about the progress we're making in education. And the sign of progress is that we now have better education than we used to have in the past. Come on. In the past, we all know that the mere fact of attending a school meant you get education. Today, you could go to school, but you won't get education. The only way you get education is for your parents to be able to pay for private education. So how does that indicate progress? And it has gotten worse in the last 2.5 years as the parents, as the purchasing power and the economic strength of parents have been eroded. So I'm saying all this to give the background to it that the reality that the people are facing cannot be denied or cannot be altered by the mere decamping of, I dare say, self-serving decamping of one governor or one senator from, in any case, don't we know that the people consider almost, in fact, all those of us, including those of us in the opposition, they believe already that the political elites are ganged up against them. They know that the campaign is also because you said, oh, they want to bring the benefit of federal government to the people. They know they are not doing anything to bring any benefit to their people. They've collected more money than any governor have collected in the history of Nigeria. How come children cannot get education in their state? How come there are no functioning public hospitals in these states? So they are already regarded as the enemy of the people. Is it the National Assembly? They see what people in the National Assembly are doing, buying 220-something million naira cars, while parents are not even sure where their food will come from. So all these people you see cannot convince the people that they are doing all this in their interest. They are doing it for whatever reason, but definitely not in the interest of the people. So that's why we said the question of whether people want APC, Nigerians want APC to continue or not, that question is settled. Nigerians don't want to continue in this trajectory. The most important thing for us here is how do we, as an opposition party, convince Nigerians that we truly represent the alternative? Not that whether we think that Nigerians don't want APC to continue. So, but I admit that we have to convince them, and we have time to do that. We have to convince them that we truly represent the alternative. So I'm not saying that Nigerians will just follow us because we say so. We have a duty. We know we have a duty to convince them, and we are working hard on that. That we represent that alternative, and that's what we're saying about democracy. If we arrive in 2027 and Nigerians feel that APC has done well for them in the last 2.5 years, by all means they will go ahead, regardless of what we do or we say, they will vote for APC. But if they feel that the APC has done well, they should have options. They should have alternative, and it is the possibility of that option, the possibility of that alternative that APC has worked so hard in the last 2 years or so to take away from the people. And you cannot call that democracy. You cannot call that democracy. Because if the PDP government of 2015 under President Jonathan had maintained the same attitude that the government today is maintaining, there's no way APC will have come to power in 2015. And the instructions of history is there to guide us. But it's what it is.
You say that you're not worried about the APC's influence. You say that all these people who are aligning themselves with the center are being selfish and the Nigerians are tired of the APC. Don't you genuinely feel that this might just be, there's a power of incumbency, right? They're the ruling party, they're the party in power. They have influence, whether we want to polish it or not. They have a certain level of influence. Do you worry about the influence that they wield and how that might be used in the next elections? Also, do you have hopes for or what would you say are your expectations and hopes for the new INEC chair?
Thank you very much. We're all here in 2015, weren't we? We're all here in 2015. PDP had the control of all the machinery of the state. They had the control of the INEC, control of the police, control of the military, control of the National Assembly and everything. Yet, when the Nigerian people decided that it was time to try something else, it was time to vote them out, Nigerians did vote them out. The only difference was that the man who was president at the time was gracious enough and had a sense of history to realize that what was at stake was bigger than himself and was bigger than his personal interest. That was a critical difference. So this time you asked me if we think APC will lose the next election. I have no doubt in my mind that APC will lose the next election. No matter what they do, they will lose the next election. But the question, however, is whether they will recognize, just like Jonathan did in 2015, that Nigeria is bigger than them. That Nigeria is bigger than any individual's personal ambition. For us, that is the battle that we know that we have to fight. How do we ensure that even that after they have lost the election, they will not be in a position to hold on to power by all means? That is the key point, and I am sure that even you asking me this question, know that that's where the challenge is. It's not a question of whether if we have a free and fair election, President Tinubu versus another candidate in this country today, whether we think that they will win the election. There's no way they can win the election. But the question is, will they respect democratic choice of Nigerian people? Will they attempt to hold on to power by all means necessary? That is the question that we'll have to wait to answer.
Okay. I'd like your reaction to the presidential pardon. Just recently, the Attorney General of the Federation has said that they have to review the list all over again and take a look at stakeholders, ensuring that they all get in and look at the numbers, the list, 175, and so on. What do you make of that presidential pardon?
You know, over the years, historically, I mean, the constitutional power that is granted to the president, the power of clemency, under the prerogative of mercy act, the president had to pardon convicted criminals, convicted people, not necessarily criminals. And all presidents, this kind of power exists in different forms all over the world. But the fundamental principles are the same. Are there possible cases of miscarriage of justice in the process of convicting this individual? That is one. Is there any social returns or social benefits that the country will gain by releasing this individual? That is two. Three, is there any, will the release of this individual strengthen national unity or strengthen national progress? That's another. So all over the world, the principles are the same, regardless of how it is structured. But what we saw under this administration, the type that we've never seen before, is that when these people, criminals, convicts, were released, were penciled down or were pardoned by this administration, more than half of them were hardened criminals, drug traffickers. That the Nigerian Institution for the Regulation of Drugs, the NDLEA, suffered so much to get convictions against. And under the Nigerian law, this crime of drug peddling, drug trafficking, sometimes carry life imprisonment. The verdict served 2 years. And what did the president do? He pardoned them. Murderers, drug traffickers, hardened criminals. This administration pardoned them. It had never happened before. And Nigerians are like in shock. What is this? Because it was a monumental act of national disgrace. And the world began to take a second look at our country. Are we a safe haven for drug peddlers now? That we are treating them with kid gloves? Then the outrage, government now, in the context of, in the midst of the outrage, government now turned around to say, no, actually, it was just a... You release this list, hoping to get political mileage out of it. Then it backfired. You say it was a mere proposal that you are still considering. Right. But like I said in another context, this is character. They do something today, they reverse themselves tomorrow. We can list 20 cases at least since 2027, where this government has done one thing and reversed itself the next day. As if somebody is not thinking somewhere. As if they just wake up and they do the first thing that will occur to them and wait to see whether Nigerians will swallow it or not. Do in the end what they did with the act, with the pardoning of these criminals, will remain a stigma, a stain on this administration, because now they are trying to revert themselves as they often do. So in the end, look at the family of look at the kill of the girl that the case of the girl that killed her husband. I mean, right. You did that. Then the family came around. I said, "What did you just do to us?" Now it's part of what they are now saying. Oh, they are considering. So for us, it's something that shouldn't have happened.
Thank you so much for your insights and your time, Honorable Bolaji Abdullahi. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Fortunately, we've run out of time. There are so many things to still unpack. I wanted to talk to you about the coalition, but I guess we'll do that some other time. Thank you so much once again for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to mention that we're still streaming live on YouTube. In case you would like to share your thoughts, we'll take a number of your comments as we proceed with the show. But we're going to break now, and when we return, Benga brings you the headlines. Please stay with us.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. News reaching us now in Ojo, Lagos says there's been a fire at the Alaba International Market and it's destroyed several buildings at the Alaba International Market. We understand that several shops housing goods worth millions of naira have been destroyed. We'll bring you more reports on that in the course of our subsequent bulletins. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has scheduled a crucial virtual meeting on Saturday, October 25th, to review its 30-day ultimatum to the federal government. The union, led by Secretary General Dr. Shuaibu Ibrahim, will assess the government's response to long-standing demands, including unpaid salary arrears under CONMES, delayed promotions, and exclusion from specialist allowances. NARD is also protesting the dismissal of 5 doctors from the Federal Teaching Hospital, Lokoja, amidst growing burnout and brain drain. Persistent salary shortfalls, poor working conditions, and bureaucratic delays are fueling frustrations. The outcome of this meeting will determine whether NARD escalates industrial action as they seek urgent resolution to ensure the welfare and professional recognition of resident doctors nationwide. The Nigerian Senate has passed a landmark amendment prescribing life imprisonment for anyone convicted of defiling a minor with no option of fine. The bill, part of sweeping reforms to the Criminal Code Act 2025, also proposes a 10-year jail term for rape defined as any act of sexual intercourse without consent, regardless of gender or setting. Leading debate on the bill, Senate leader Opeyemi Bamidele said the amendment eliminates gender bias in the prosecution of sexual offences and strengthens protection for children nationwide. However, deliberations became tense when lawmakers raised a concern over a clause on abortion, leading the Senate to step down further consideration of the bill and refer it to the Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights for further scrutiny. The session also witnessed a wild drama when Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was ruled out of order after attempting to reopen debate on the already withdrawn clause. And out to security matters, the Christian Association of Nigeria has accused the presidency of twisting facts and misrepresenting its position in the alleged killings of Christians across the country. It insists that what is happening in several parts of northern Nigeria, the Middle Belt, amounts to Christian genocide in a statement issued by its president, Archbishop Daniel Oko. The Christian Association of Nigeria clarified it did not at any point dismiss or describe the widespread killing as a so-called Christian genocide, as claimed by the presidential advisor, while United States Senator Ted Cruz has described the persistent killing of Christians in Nigeria as a Christian genocide. Can express alarm over the president's subsequent denial. In Niger State, no fewer than 30 people have reportedly lost their lives, while about 40 others sustained varying degrees of injuries in a tragic tanker explosion that occurred on Tuesday in Niger State. The incident happened around 11 a.m. at Essen Badegi communities along the Bida Agaye Road in Kachat local government area of the state. Eyewitnesses said the victims were scooping fuel from a fallen tanker when the vehicle suddenly exploded, setting off a massive fire that engulfed several people. Many victims were said to have been burnt beyond recognition, while the injured were evacuated to nearby hospitals for treatment. In East Africa, at least 63 people have died after several vehicles crashed on a major highway in Uganda on Wednesday. According to police spokesperson SP Michael Kananura, two buses traveling in opposite directions collided head-on shortly after midnight near Kitalabe village. The buses had been attempting to overtake a lorry and a car when one swerved to avoid a collision, triggering a chain reaction that caused multiple vehicles to overturn. Several passengers were injured and rushed to Kiryandongo Hospital. Police have launched an investigation and urged motorists to avoid dangerous overtaking, a leading cause of crashes in Uganda. The authorities extended condolences to the families of the victims. We now head over to Abuja, where the Chartered Institute of Directors are having a conference bringing together industry leaders, policymakers, and innovators. We join our business correspondent, Joanna Mustafa, who's live in Abuja to bring us details of this. Hi, good morning, Joanna. Thank you so much for joining us on Breakfast Central. Can you give us an update of the Chartered Institute of Directors Conference? What's it all about?
Yes, as you have rightly stated, it's the 2025 Annual Directors Conference here in Abuja. Abuja Continental Hotel is where we are right now. And we know that the last 2 years have been quite years of reforms and change, 2022, 2025, 2023, and 2024 as well. 2025 has been described as a year of recovery. Companies have had to navigate those changes, and those at the helm of leadership have had to steer their organizations in direction of change. This conference obviously hopes to examine how they have navigated the turbulence, and we know that turbulence is still ongoing. We're seeing wave of reforms, both sectoral level, company-wide, nationwide, and even globally. So how are they navigating those changes, and how are they, in addition, staying ahead of those changes? Here we have a convergence of business leaders, directors, CEOs, policymakers, all coming together to, I believe, rub minds and also see how they can be future ready. It was slated to begin at 9 a.m., but we haven't begun just yet. We can see registration going on behind me, and we will be bringing you the development as the event unfolds. It's a 2-day conference, so today is day 1. We expect guests of honor such as the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, that is Senator Abubakar Bagudru. We also expect Bosun Tijani, he should be here as well, the Minister of the Digital Economy, amongst other guests of honors.
Thank you so much, Joanna. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Breakfast Central continues shortly. I am Benga Aborowa.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here. Let's take a look at the front pages of the newspapers, which goes right next. And we do have Mr. Lucius, who joins us here. It's been a long time. The last time I saw him.
Sheson Okwade.
Oh, okay, accountant.
Because these days in Nigeria, people don't want to be left out.
Okay,
they
maybe
like titles. I've seen pharmacist.
So if you want
architect.
to put it, maybe we'll just say chartered accountant. So
thank you. Not just ordinary.
Wenga.
We apologize.
Please, let's take it again.
Accountant. Journalist Olive, what paper are we starting?
Okay, thank you very much, broadcaster Benga. Meanwhile, even it's the same thing. When I was in law school, I thought it was a barrister is not a title. So you would say, Mr. For example, I'm Miss Olive, but even if I'm a lawyer,
Esquire.
Barrister.
Esquire.
Calm down. We like titles too much.
Is it easy to pass by? Is it easy to pass by?
It's not easy.
Chief doctor.
And is it easy to be chartered?
I've seen instances where you want to introduce someone and you missed out the doctor, or you say associate professor, and it's
so
like.
Those ones are different.
Okay.
Those educational ones, yes.
PhD, yes.
Yes.
But where did you get the doctorate degree from?
That's why I said educational ones, not those doctors that collected doctorates in Cotonou.
Yeah, honorary doctorate.
In fact, people wake up these days and decide to add doctor to their bio.
To their, so
I can now wake up and
it's about title in this.
So you're chartered, you have FC at the back of your name.
That one is like putting your Esquire. So
That's
you
right.
put FCA, FCTI for those in tax practitioners.
That's right.
We're honored to have a chartered accountant.
Anyway, thank you for being a chartered accountant. Let's go straight into the story. Let's put up the Punch. That's our first paper for this morning. The Punch newspaper has a story. Lamido Turaki Makarafi lead PDP chairman race. Northwest PDP set to pick consensus chair as party zoning favors region. Party set for convention. Even though someone said they stole his signature. Sanwo-Olu, Fashola Ambode, Lagos, APC endorse President Bola.
The question here is, do they have any other choice? This former governor.
Why are you asking me? Okay, let's go to this one. Presidency can clash over Christian genocide claim. It's a conversation we're going to have extensively tomorrow. Yes, we'll have this conversation, especially the reporter who covered the entire thing and put out the report that has gathered a lot of views and conversations too. Niger governor mourns as 35 killed in tanker explosion. Presidential pardon, AGF orders multi-agency probe. I'd like you to start with that one, but before you do, let's take some more. I'd like to finish the stories on the front pages as well. Diri delays APC move amid Silva Lokobiri power talks. Let's see another one here. It says Amukpita resumes next week ahead of Anambra poll. Another one says MDA's under fire as federal government probes TSA violations. And hit and run driver kills Lagos director days before retirement. This is sad. Very sad story as well. But let's start with this one. Presidential pardon. AGF orders multi-agency probe. What's your take on this? I'm sure you've been following this 175 names.
Joe, it's a laughable thing if you ask me. What are we probing? Why do we like to bear the cat before the horse? This, we expect that before we have the assent of Mr. President, due investigation, criticism, even having understanding, explaining, defending, let me put it that way, when you take certain things to your managing director that, requires his assent, questions are being asked. The reason why you are actually pardoning now is generating, a lot of controversies. Why certain set of people should not be, granted pardon. I read one snippet about the family of late hero, about Macaulay criticizing, attaching, criminality to the leader. And you ask yourself the question, did we follow due diligence to act? So when we now probe the people that Mr. President have assented to grant, amnesty or to be given pardon, are you going to revert the status quo in such a way that you now say they are no longer pardoned? These are lapses we've been observing in terms of some of the policies. This is just one. There are times you see, look at the one that generated issue. I was asking people whether you're going to step down mathematics for those in art class and the likes. All of a sudden we heard that, okay, that is actually been reverted. This is the status quo, you need it. And you ask yourself the question, how do we put out information without validating, authenticating, and saying that we have the best of it here? I'm waiting for the result of this probe. If you ask me.
Because there was no rush. The public didn't.
We didn't even know that there was
anything about
anything going on in the background. Yeah.
Why do you come to the public with information that is not verified? So,
well, until when we let's have the, you know, even the probe is an interesting thing in the country. You're going to set up committee to actually do this, and definitely. I wish they would enroll Joe to be part of those panels.
Well, I wish they did, but it's so unfortunate and pathetic that.
No, sincerely speaking.
What were we saying? What was the question we had asked here on breakfast? That can you pardon?
You can't unpardon a pardon.
Can you unpardon the pardon?
I beg that's
you can't unpardon a pardon.
No, it's gone. So the fact that we want to now probe into it, I'm actually awaiting what the result will look like after the probe. Possibly to justify some of the questions people are actually raising out there, but it doesn't speak well of us that we don't carry out due before we actually give. Because most of the time, I will tell in the video that care to listen, you take certain things to the head of organization. They believe so much in certain set of people when they bring those documentation to them. So they just assent based on the fact that, no, Joe brought this documentation to me and the likes. I expect that you have done a thorough job. Let me assent some of this signature to it. And you wonder after the assent has actually been made, somebody is now asking the question to say, no, this is not actually being done. It's wrong. We need to revisit the issue. We need to see how those things actually happen. It's disappointing, but I actually, as a person, I'm waiting for the result of this it's not an agency probe. It's multi-agency. So different set of people possibly who made submission for the assent of Mr. President. And I have this to say, that if you have the outcome of this, I think it must rule. Because the major problem we've been having is there are no consequences for wrongdoing, and everybody feel they can do whatever they like.
They say to err is human, so, I mean...
To forgive is divine. Are you buying chance quoting Abike Dabiri?
Maybe. But she's not the first person that was saying.
No, she's not the first person, of course.
And she won't be the last.
Never.
That's what we hear.
Just to read the line before we conclude and move to another story. It says, involved in the probe of the list are the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, and the police. The exercise may result in more than half of the nominees being dropped.
So when you now drop
huge indictment.
Now listen to this line. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is said to be awaiting the submission of the vetted.
Wow.
Vetted. Tomorrow I'm going to specially cut that interview. I'll cut it today and put it out there on social media.
He needs to come back.
So that, no, we need to invite the SA to the president. Also. He needs to come back so that I think it's a humbling experience, especially for him. He's a senior colleague of mine. It's a humbling experience that when you have attained a certain position in power and your fellow colleague asks you, who of course is also a journalist, and then you tell him you're asking a question that doesn't make sense. Now,
have you not been vindicated?
Has it not been?
No, you are yet to be vindicated. No, you are yet to be vindicated. Let's wait. When they come, you see one thing about people out there. You see, part of the problem we are faced with, where you see people high up the so-called professional, most especially in this media organization, this tends to carry this ego, looking down on. One thing they keep they forget is, the younger generation today have deeper understanding beyond. Majority of them never know what they call digital journalism. People have gone far. Yeah. I always tell individuals, gone are those days as a pastor, you start before the pulpit and you start dishing out, certain things you call ministration. You see a young guy that has done research, where all the apparatus, and he's asking you questions.
What's even more interesting is that some churches, like my church, has now taken the extra mile that after service, there's question and answer. So you query, you have a right to query
what the pastor said. So which was not obtainable in those days. So when you see a journalist asking you questions, the fact remains that if care is not taken, they've gone several steps ahead of you before that question was actually being asked. So but let's wait, at least with this coming to say about 50% of them will go back.
Just before I hand over to Olive for the next paper, just on the same topic, I'm sorry, I'm so interested in this story now.
Is everybody
I'm interested because
everybody?
It's as if, you know, someone says this list passed through the AGF's office. So why is it that?
Who is the #1 law advisor to the president?
So why would you put it on the state's website? It's on the state's website. It's there, listing everybody who have been pardoned. Even the SSA, Mr. Bayo Nonuga, put it out on his tweet, listing everybody and putting reasons why they have been pardoned.
I'm not standing.
Is he going to take it down? I need to even check if he has taken it down.
I'm not going to stand the gap. It's still boiled down to the fact that when you don't deal with certain set of people that are supposed, AGF must have assent to some of these things without questioning, believing that the person that brought the documentation to him is fine. And Mr. President looked at AGF, this is my #1 man that is to protect and interpret the law for me. He must have done a thorough job. And that's why for me, if we come out and discover that what they said, they are like 75%
Maybe
off.
some lowly aides head will roll, but I don't think it would affect any higher ups. And that's what breeds this culture of impunity that we see, which is unfortunate. This has embarrassed Mr. President and the Office of the Presidency, and it just reveals how thorough they are in dealing with.
Well, I can assure you that they will come back with a defense to all this, and we'll definitely forget about it.
Okay.
Anyway,
any defense that they have, they should take to the defense headquarters.
So let's take a look at that front page of the Punch newspaper one more time.
I was about to move to the Nigerian Tribune.
Before we move to the Nigerian Tribune, because this is Mr. Okwade's space. He deals with figures and money. MDA is on the fire as federal government probes TSA violations. When the Treasury single account model was introduced, we thought it was foolproof, that, you know, this is a way of curbing ghost workers and corruption. So what's really going on? How is it possible to violate? Is it that some agencies are refusing to onboard the TSA? Or what's really going on here?
You see, my interpretation to this, when with acts of probe, is when you have a policy in place, most of the time, a lot of people don't like to rely on. For me, I don't think this administration believes so much in the TSA initiated by the last administration. Otherwise, there are lacuna, there are lapses where people are not actually following through. And that is where we call out the Accountant General of the Federation and the Auditor General of the Federation, because they are actually out there to guide and see how we monitor that people follow, you know, people comply, let me put it, that's the word we use, comply to the set rules as regarding how funds are actually being launched and actually being disbursed. Well, what I feel will be happening here is people are using different other means to carry out this operation without following it, because they will tell you that the bottleneck, once money enter into the account, is difficult to come out. So they look for shortcuts to see how to manage, you know, situation in such a way to have access to that funds. And that's why the Auditor General of the Federation is there to see through to some of the books that is actually being kept by some of these NDAs, query it and punish those that are actually, you know, deviating from the set rules. But most of the time, like you keep saying, the lower cadre can be punished for it, either to step down. But the big boss that is supposed to have the oversight function of some of those things would definitely be excused. And that's why we'll continue to have the problem that we are faced with.
Okay, let's go to the Nigerian Tribune and see what the front page is saying. Why Nigeria should not be designated country of concern, according to Bishop Kuka. Says Obama administration slowed down fight against Boko Haram under Jonathan. Designation will hurt Nigeria more, he adds. This is, of course, surrounding the statement about Christians in Nigeria being targeted, and Bishop Kuka is reminding of the time that arms were not being sold to, you know, to Nigeria because of certain laws.
under the Leahy laws in
Yeah,
America,
the Leahy laws, exactly.
It says you shouldn't sell arms to a country that
is not upholding human rights.
Yes, dodgy human rights record. You wonder why they're still sponsoring Israel, because if you're talking about the mother of all violation of human rights,
Israel is
the number one
temple.
Yes, the standard.
Okay. Still on the front page, Lagos director dies few days to retirement, 60th birthday party to be buried Friday. It's really sad. Condolences to the family. Insecurity, Edo government to regulate activities of scavengers, scrap dealers. Tinubu nominates Doro as minister, forwards the name to Senate. Health, breakthrough blood tests could spot dozens of cancer before symptoms appear, according to researchers. If I were to be asked, what's the one sickness you want to cure in this life? It would be cancer, because there's so much. I mean, cancer is such a terrible sickness, and it feels like, anyway, I don't want to go into the details of that.
But that's some positive news there. Yeah. I believe we have a call. Julius, can you speak to us, please? Good morning. Julius from Edo. Go ahead and make your submission, please.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Julius.
Good morning, Julius from Benin.
Julius,
heard
can you please turn down the volume of your TV set as you continue your comment? Thank you.
Okay, I will do just that. My worry now is I've done that already. You talked, your guest there talked about reviewing an already pardoned list of Nigerians. It's so worrisome. You know, it is normally said that the queen does no wrong. If she does, people must be held responsible. You know, I am of the opinion that the Attorney General should quietly resign so that he can still maintain part of his integrity. Because that list has been approved by the Council of State. That list has been approved by the President. How can you review a list that has been approved? People that have been granted pardon, you want to take them back?
Pardon the pardon.
It's going to be very, very dicey, quite honestly. I feel an error has been committed. Those who are responsible for such error should be held responsible. Thank you. There are so many issues you are discussing. I don't want to bother you. This is the one I want to...
You're not a bother. You can never bother us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Julius.
much.
Thanks for sharing.
You can never bother us, bother Julius. Okay, let's come back to the front pages. Tanker explosion kills 35, injures 46 in Niger. Really sad.
Again, the same deja vu. We've
a committee was set up. Do you remember?
Yes.
At the National
what's the
Assembly.
result of the committee?
A committee was set up.
So
at the
we
National
go
Assembly.
through the same ritual over and over again until the next one happens. So maybe even us here, we should.
After the one that happened in Agbo, I remember vividly. We were sitting here. I was sitting in on this same seat, this same side. Agbo. A committee was set up after the one that happened in Agbo, the explosion. And that committee, they were given how many days? I don't want to go online, but I know I have it. I remember it. I remember. And they were told to look into the incidences. Henceforth, they should ensure that they stop any further explosion from occurring or happening.
Should we just resign to fate and say, look, just like the sun is bound to rise in the east, tanker explosions are bound to happen, and sadly we can't do anything about it. It's our normal reality. We should just pray that you are not one of the victims, because that's the message this is passing.
Yeah, Benga, you see, we cannot allow anomalies to be normal. This is abnormal, and we cannot just allow that to be. First and foremost, aside the agencies responsible for managing of some of these tankers and trucks, we need to speak to our people also. Most of the time we talked about the greedy elites, the greedy leaders, even the followers. I know a lot of people will say, when people are suffering, why would you want to risk your life? I read a little about that story, and it's about people scooping fuel. You know, you feel you want to take out of it and go and sell to make ends meet. And here you are You cannot. And you know the interesting thing? People will go there with their phones. People will go there with lighter. Some will even be smoking not too far from it.
So you see, are you saying that it's not necessarily a poverty problem as opposed to also people not just being properly informed?
Maybe I would say awareness. I would not take poverty as 100% because if it's poverty, why do we have the high and mighty that are actually administering some of our finances, misappropriating it and diverting it?
Is the problem the people scooping the fuel, or why this tanker should even spill its content in the first place?
Well, being an accident can happen. I will always put that. It's orientating the mind of people. That's why when issues like this happen, what is the response rate of those saddled with the responsibility? If it is in the same climb, I'm sure you've traveled most of the time. When issues like this happen, the response time from either the fire agency or the light is within the speed of time. 1-2 minutes, they've covered all the area that people are not having access to it, and that brings that safety.
It prevents human beings from,
interfering, and that can. So, accident, I always say accident can happen. Even the vehicle you are actually driving, something somewhere can happen unknowingly after doing all that you have done. But I'm of the opinion that the agencies responsible, how swiftly do we respond when issues like this happen to cuddle the area for people not to have access of either scooping or, saying that this is the area where
I'm
you
glad
go.
we're having this conversation. Let's talk about the failures here. Maybe bad road, number one, culprit. Tanker spills its content. Number two is that the emergency services response time to cordon off the area and prevent the content from leaking or spreading and causing further damage. Then number three problem, the human being. Where do you start from? Which is the most important factor, the human factor. How do you begin to tell a grown adult that fuel is highly combustible, that it can end your life, and if there's a little spark, it will consume you? Is it that poverty or hunger that is pushing you to
act without common sense?
Act without, basically risking your life.
Yes.
Benga, it is not poverty, it is greed.
Okay, how do you address that?
The issue there is, if you ask people that are, culpable of this act now, some people will still come that same location. If same thing happened there tomorrow, people will still go there to go and scoop. Because we have this mentality, let me quickly galvanize from it.
Can you even save or
because something that is actually, moving either in the drainage, how much can you make? You see, when you don't value your life, you feel that having that money is much more important than your life. This is what you get.
I mean, you've just said it all.
When you don't, if you value your life, if you see issues like this about to happen, the first thing you do is to run away from it. But when greed has actually taken over your psyche, what you're able out to do is, this is an opportunity to quickly make money, and you end your life daring. I think even if you enlighten people from now till tomorrow, that mentality of greed needs to be addressed, and I feel that our agency concerned for this emergency should always swing to action. But I know the question will be, how much funding are they actually getting to actually mobilize people to attend to this swiftly?
Okay, all right.
Okay, let's just take a few more.
We missed out a very important story.
I want to talk the Free Nnamdi Kanu story.
No, on the Punch newspaper, top right corner. Yes, it's about Diri delaying APC move amid Silva Lokobiri power talks. Is it that he's perhaps considering a change of mind to this transfer window? Because, for example, you look at Newcastle United, they sold Isak. Isak was a top player for Newcastle United. They sold him to Liverpool. Now it's like the engine is knocking in Liverpool. He's not performing. So maybe I've seen what has happened to former PDP governors that have become, and is having cold feet, as they call it, or we're making a mountain out of a molehill. Is this a done deal?
As far as I'm concerned, I will continue to say all those politicians, they know how to play their game. We don't know as much as they know. When political party lacks ideology, people can, be in a party in the morning, take breakfast with them, add lunch with some in the afternoon, and end up taking dinner in the evening, because it's about myself, and myself alone. And a lot of us have actually raised concerns to say, if you are decamping, can we come out to carry out election to test your popularity? You cannot ride on a particular party to be on a particular post, and you are leaving that post and leaving the people that you actually came from.
They're decamping for reasons. They say their party is in internal crisis,
and then they
are forging signatures here and there, and they want to plug in.
To the center.
Plugging to the center implies that as you are voluntarily resigning from that party that brought you to limelight, you should step down on that particular position to say we cannot continue.
That's the moral.
So which
They tell you it's not in the Constitution.
Okay, if it's not in the Constitution, can you be morally, obliged to that particular thing? It's superseding.
Our viewers. Constitution states that if your party is going through a crisis,
you can use that as an excuse
to quickly jump and fly ship, not jump, fly.
Into
a new
any party that you want to
let me rephrase it. So if you leave your political party, the vehicle upon which you came into an office for another political party, you should be ready to vacate that seat, unless of course you can prove that you can say that there was crisis in your previous political party. But unfortunately, we've seen in many cases, Rivers State, the Rivers State speakers, they moved from one party to another, moved back to their party, nothing happened. So it's become the norm. And that seems like a constitutional loophole that needs to be tightened.
There's a lacuna.
There is a lacuna, a vacuum.
Yeah, it's what we keep saying. When that happened in Rivers, a lot of us criticized by saying, okay, what was actually the problem that made the people decamp from PDP in Rivers to APC? Because their leader is still in PDP, and they are at the other side. So how can you be working from two sides? And the politics that we actually is because I would say lack of ideology. Those days when you see
a unique model of democracy.
Okay, that's the civilized way of democracy.
Where in a Nigerian climate.
In a Nigerian, okay.
Yes.
Because you cannot be from two sides and be operating. If the idea, if you see a Republican, mere him standing, you know that this is a Republican. Even from his speech, the way he addressed his,
same analogy, ideology.
Their ideology is actually
the politics of ideology in Nigeria.
That's the problem. So it's about politics of interest.
No, the political parties, they don't have ideology. A number of them don't have ideology.
They have manifestos, but can they even recite what they've written?
Because a scriptwriter actually wrote that, at least for somebody to. So because if it's about ideology, you won't wake up one day and feel that there are crises there. What you try to do is that we are of like minds. How can we resolve this issue because we are here and are here we all die together?
How do you even begin to have ideology when you are still dealing with I'm going to clean gutter, I'm going to build road, we're going to fix our universities, we'll fix street lights. So your ideology is first fix survival, exactly, the basics. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Well,
food, water, clothing, and shelter.
Thank you for joining us this morning. It's always great to have you. Thank you to our virtual audience. I can see some of your comments. Annie Chinedu Brown, thank you for the shout out. He says, when criminals make laws for the citizens, the dishonest will be vindicated and rewarded.
Olive, how did Annie Chinedu give a shout out?
Oh!
That's a shout
I thought I was mad. But you guys watched that me. You had
give Joe a shout out.
Were you born during the were you born in December?
I was born during the environmental sanitation.
Oh, I thought you were born in December because of the Harmattan season. You are very dry. This is how we wrap the show. Thank you very much for joining us. And I want to wrap the show up with some good news. A friend of mine, Lara Teshala, after waiting for 11 or 12 years, has delivered a baby. She's a mother. And congratulations to Lara. I'm so excited. On behalf of all of us here, I want to wish you a wonderful life as a mother. Until we come your way again, this is Breakfast Central. Jasiri comes up next. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Bye-bye. And shout out to my good friend, Joe.